Hello, viewers. I am here with Neigeme Glasgow-maeda. Yes, correct? All right, I got the pronunciation of that properly. I understand you're in Montserrat right now?
No, Martinique.
Martinique. All right,
Yeah,
but I do
French
realize that you are a well-traveled man as well. I want you to say hi to the world because first of all, we're going to chat about Caribbean food and then we're going to talk about what you do, which is a film producer, I believe. Yes?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Introduce yourself and say hi to the world, please.
All right, people. Greetings and salutations. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here, and I hope that you would be able to get some informative insight or learn about something or the other that you didn't know about before this whole thing is over. All right.
Excellent. Thank you. So, I can't wait to get into the film part of it as well later on. But first of all, Caribbean food.
Yes.
Now, because you're so traveled, been to so many different islands, let's start with, I suppose, where you are now. Where would you go for Caribbean food in Martinique?
Well, in Martinique, Caribbean food is everywhere, because Martinique is, part of the Caribbean. They're part of the French West Indies. So they are French departments in the Caribbean, not French colonies. They're French departments, okay, since 1946. So there's Martinique, Guadeloupe, French Guyana, Saint Martin, half of which is French, half of which is Dutch. There's Saint-Barth. They're also Creole speaking, so that is something that links them with certain English speaking countries in the Caribbean, like St. Lucia, Dominica, Haiti, and also other Creolophone regions in the world, like Seychelles, La Réunion, Les Chagos, Mauritius, even Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of the islands in the Caribbean at one point in time were and or still are speaking Creole or patois, like in Trinidad. You'll have to find them in Cedros or in Paramin. But, some of the first books in Creole were also, published in Trinidad and so forth. So we are also part of that kind of world. So, it's Carnival time. So today is Mercredi de Cendre, Ash Wednesday. And whereas in Trinidad, for example, Carnival ends at midnight Tuesday, and people are at church for Mercredi de Cendre, in Martinique, Guadeloupe, and French Guyana, they celebrate Ash Wednesday as well. It's the black and white day, and that's when they burn the bubuli, or what they call vaval, and they have a special derogation from the Pope that allows them to do that. So that is what is special about them. So today is still Carnival, and it's going to kick off in a bit, but like I said, just to situate where Martinique is, everything about Martinican food is Caribbean food, is West Indian food. We are in a place called Monde Cadet. So basically, what I could see from where I am is the Bay of Saint-Pierre, which was once upon a time a bustling town in Martinique, and we could also see the Montagne Pelée, which is right up there, which is that mountain that erupted in 1902 and killed 30,000 people. Okay. That down there is the Bay of Saint-Pierre. So as you can see, it is a country that lives in its region, right across here in the garden, we have some cocoa growing and stuff there. Wow. So we are totally immersed in it, so a lot of seafood, a lot of fresh fish, bonite, tuna, wild yellowfin tuna. And when it comes to influences, like every Caribbean island, they love their saltfish, so their moru, which is a staple food, even though cod doesn't swim in our waters. But that's another, story for another time. Colombo, which basically is their curry, which comes from the Indian descendants that came after the abolition of slavery.
So that's called Colombo. That's a curry dish.
Yes, it's curry.
Oh, okay. Sorry to interrupt.
They don't have roti. Exactly. So what they don't have is roti, because roti is something special that was invented in Trinidad by the East Indians, because they had to take their lunch into the fields, and they had to be able to eat something while cutting cane. They didn't have a plate or anything like that, so they had to have the skin that was prepared for it, so it's like a naan, but a super naan with the split peas in between, so that it could hold the sauce and everything, and then it becomes a complete meal. But we have a lot of the same dishes, or the base of the same dishes that everyone else has. We have a lot more influences in Trinidad, whether it be Portuguese, a lot more Amerindian, a lot more English, so East Indian, Asian, so Chinese. So our foods are a lot more influenced by those mixtures that they have less of here.
Okay, but what I'm actually trying to get from you is, if you was, I know earlier on, I just saw you eating a lovely dish, but if you was hungry right now and you wanted to go somewhere in town or close to you, wherever, what meal would you go for, and what particular shop would you go to?
All right, I would go to a place called the Wahoo Cafe, or I would go to another place called Le Petit Bonhomme. And if I was to go to the Wahoo, I would have their fried marlin with vegetables, because the marlin is fresh. It is.
And where is Wahoo?
Well, Wahoo is in the commune called Le Carbe. So we are right on top of there, right next to Saint-Pierre. It's on the beach, black sand beach and stuff like that. And their cooks are amazing. Really, their cooks are amazing. If not, I'll go a little bit further. Still on the beach, Le Petit Bonhomme. And there I would go for tuna, a tuna tartar. A tuna tartar with perhaps some sweet potato fries, or some yuca chips. Now, the yuca chips is basically cassava chips. So basically, you make chips out of the cassava, just like potato chips.
Right.
And you have that there with perhaps a side of guacamole, homemade guacamole, and boudou, just to keep it nice and.
And you're on the beach as well. The food sounds delicious, and the fact that you're on the beach, wow, makes it extra great. Martinique, you've been to other Caribbean islands as well. Can you name any other islands and other venues or shops that you would recommend to our viewers?
Yeah, I mean, if you are in Guadeloupe, I would recommend you go to a place called Badufort, which is in between Pointe-à-Pitre and Gautier. And it's a beautiful strip, not far from the sea as well, where you have a lot of local vendors doing local dishes. You have a mixture between Dominican food, Haitian food, Guadeloupean food, and some international dishes as well, because they cater for foreigners who might not know exactly what they have, so they adapt. So you would get like a tuna steak burger, or the bouchette. Like last night in town, for example, when we had just finished doing a little Mardi Gras mass, we had a lovely bouchette of lambi, which is the conch, that was grilled on a nice bouchette. I mean, that gives you energy, to get back up and start going again, So you have a lot of those lovely dishes, Sometimes you have the lambi intertwined with fruit and veg. So you could have the lambi, then a piece of pineapple, then another piece of lambi, then some sweet peppers, then, So you get that kind of sweet and kind of salty kind of taste. For any Trinis out there who know your Mario's, green peppers, and pineapple pizza, you all know exactly what I'm talking about. You all understand that kind of taste, that you're left with. You know what I mean? It's very unique. But pineapple and sweet peppers, mama, amazing.
Yeah,
So,
there's a big debate about pineapple on pizza. Some
listen,
for,
I
some
don't think there's a debate, that has been already organized by me, man. You know what I mean? To be there. It might not be for everyone, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Other than that, well, you go to Barbados, you have oystings. Of course, you have oystings, and there you have your fried fish and stuff like that. In Jamaica, I would recommend everyone to go to downtown Kingston, and you eat your street food. You have your bami, you have your fried fish, you have your festival. Those are cassava baked, fried baked stuff. You know what I mean? It's local. It's amazing. It's similar but different to the stuff that we do. If you go to the Dominican Republic, I would recommend that people go to the Colonial Zone, which is a neighborhood there that has retained the colonial buildings, from back in the 1500s, 1600s, and stuff like that. It is very beautiful. And there you have amazing restaurants that do some fantastic seafood salads. So, shrimp with octopus, with squid, all mixed with an amazing sauce and served with a massive kind of tortilla. So you can break off the tortilla and dip into the sauce and eat your little pulp and stuff with it. It is fantastic. Other than that, I would tell people roam the countryside. Go into the little villages, roam the countryside, and discover things, because there's stuff that you would not even imagine to think. For example, I went to the north of the Dominican Republic, a town called Carete. And who am I to bounce upon? A man called James E. That has a restaurant called The Goddess. And of course, he had Roti, he had bust up shirt. When he realized that there was a Trinidadian in the dance, another Trinidadian there, well, my man pulled out the curry. Everyone was getting fried wings. Fried wings on the grill, which I'm sure that they were amazing. But, I'm sure that there was a lot of people that were jealous for what we were eating. You know what I mean? And they don't use a lot of pepper in their dishes in the Dominican Republic. So that's one difference there. If you need pepper, you might have to do like Beyonce and bring it in your bag. You know what I mean? But
right.
James, he had his little Trini pepper and stuff. You find shadow benny and stuff out there as well. So even though they don't use the green seasoning like we do, there's everything to make it. So that's why James, he stands out where he is in the Dominican Republic, because no one's food tastes like his. His seasoning is just out of this world, because he uses Trini seasoning, and which is stuff that they don't normally use. So again, little villages, little hammers, little places like that, you'll find amazing stuff.
Right. I was having a chat with a Jamaican and a Grenadian about if and our food in Trinidad, if it's healthy or not. And from what you was describing about the food in where you are, Martinique, it sounded fairly healthy, like the ingredients. In your opinion, do they eat healthy over there in general?
Listen, I don't think the food is healthy or unhealthy. I think it's the individual. So you can have your marlin steak with vegetables or some roots, or you could have it with French fries, or something else. You know what I mean? That has that cholesterol, that has that saturated fats, that has So it's not the food; it's the person. It depends on what you kind of go for, really. I mean, in Trinidad we have healthy food, but sometimes we do things to excess. I mean, we have a food that right now should be one of the hottest topics out there, because it's hot, it's fast, it's vegan, and that is ting, doubles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People would be going crazy for doubles in the world because that's what they're looking for. Something that is a street food that's hot, that's quick, and that's vegan. And without even us making a big deal about it being vegan, you know what I mean? So it's just something for everyone, you know?
But with doubles, I think it's dependent on the oil being used and also the type of flour as well, whether it's...
Of course.
So it's
but it
all
also
in
depends
preparation.
on the quantity you eat. Now, you could eat 2 or 3 doubles and be cool, or you could go and eat 10.
Yeah, and
That's
I
a
see
different
that some people doubles after doubles after...
You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. You can't really blame the food.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we try to, remove ourselves from the equation as if we don't have any responsibility about it, and it's the other's fault, and they make it happen to us. No.
Right.
You know, I mean, you have to be able to dose and to organize. You also have to know that you need to be physical and have, regular exercise. I mean, it's a lifestyle thing.
Yeah, there's so much more to it. As you say, it's how you condition yourself on what you eat,
Of course.
the exercises.
You can't be eating McDonald's or KFC day in, day out, and not expect, there to be side effects. I mean, there's a lot of young Trinis that have passed away from heart attack and stuff like that, who are in their 40s, their early 50s. I mean, why? It's not because our food is bad, because, before, I mean, it was totally different, but now we want everything, and so we want to eat everything. We want to have everything now. So it's more of a lifestyle choice than the food for me, personally, and if we change our lifestyle, then, things would be better. If people see that you eat less of certain things, then they would make less of certain things, But I think that everything in moderation is good, I mean, even water, you drink ice water overly, you start suffering from retention of water and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So everything in moderation, man. Everything in moderation.
True. Can I ask where you're from and where you reside?
Well, I'm from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, you know what I mean? From Arima, my mother's from Tobago, from Palitufia. My father from Lakua, Belmont, right behind the Panyard, Renegades for life. And I live in Luxembourg, in the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. That's where I have my production company and distribution company. And, well, that's where I'm kind of based, but as you can see, I mean, I'm kind of everywhere,
Exactly. And I suppose it's something you enjoy doing as well. I mean, not just your work, but the traveling side of it as well, because you're not just in one place. It's always a different adventure. It must be fantastic.
Well, I mean, there's always an opportunity to learn something new. We never stop learning, and what travel does is that it enables me to continue learning and to learn from others. It allows me also to see the things I have in common with other people and other cultures. We're from Trinidad, we are multi-ethnic and multicultural. Our culture is made up of those from elsewhere, so I guess what makes it easy for me is that I could always find something in someone else's culture that I can identify with that brings me closer to people. That being said, I mean, it does take its toll as well. If you have to be constantly moving, doing things, sometimes it's hard for you to put down roots. That's why I have dreads. So I take my roots with me everywhere I go. But like I said, it's with the food is balance. You need balance in everything.
Yeah.
We're living in a world right now where you don't need to be in an office in a place to work.
Yeah.
Which could be
so many people are realizing that and making some big changes in their lives because of that.
People say that I move a lot or what have you, but it's only relative to how other people lived their lives before. And with respect to other people, I don't travel at all. I don't travel enough. So, I mean, it depends. It's relative.
Right.
We're getting to that anyways, where you would have doubles for breakfast in Trinidad, and then you are having steak for lunch in Paris, and then you're having coffee in Shanghai for dinner. I mean, the world is gonna get like that. It's the way that the world is kind of turning. So we have to be ready for that.
Sorry, I want to ask you three things then. What is the national dish, in your opinion, for Trinidad, for Luxembourg, and for where you are right now, Martinique?
Wow. Martinique, that could be that would have to be the Colombo, so the curry.
And curry what? When you say curry what? Well, curry anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't really do curry like we do curry. You know what I mean? So their curry would be, with potatoes, with various other vegetables, and then they will do the meat separate and have it with it. You know what I mean? So the curry will more or less be more of a sauce than a dish in itself. There are various ways of doing it, like the Colombo in Guadeloupe is a little bit different from the Colombo in Martinique or in French Guiana, for example. But it's a dish that is recognized as West Indian outside of Martinique. So in France, or anywhere where there is a French West Indian population, when you say Colombo, immediately they think of the Caribbean, the French West Indies. For Luxembourg is a bit difficult because it's a bit like Trinidad in this aspect. It doesn't have a monoculture, because it's between France, Belgium, Germany.
And so small as well.
Yeah, there's so many influences there that are Portuguese. The main minority is Portuguese. You have visible minority. The main visible minority are the Cape Verdeans. So you have a lot of Cape Verdean dishes, and then you have a lot of influences from Germany, from Flanders, from the Flemish side of Belgium, and also from France, especially the cuisine from the east of France, so Strasbourg, Metz, Thionville, that kind of area. So they wouldn't have one dish. I would say, you could say sausages,
Well, you pick your favorite dish from Luxembourg.
Well, it might not be my favorite because I don't eat meat.
All right, okay.
I mean, I cook it, by smell and so forth, but I don't eat meat. Uh-huh. So I would say it would be like a sausage, bratwurst, bockwurst, any form of heavy spiced sausage. That would be one dish that could be easily identifiable in Luxembourg, even though there are also dishes that are easily identifiable with Germany, Right.
But that would be sausage and what? What would you have with the sausage?
They would have sausage with sauerkraut or with potatoes in a kind of a special mustard vinaigrette sauce, so normally that would be cold and the sausage would be what would be hot, so there's that. Trinidad, Trinidad, we have a few national dishes. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
well, you mentioned one already.
We have roti, we have crab and kalaloo, we have, we kaifans, whether it be a halok or a chasu, depending on what you eat. Trinidad is another country like that where, you eat Portuguese for breakfast, Indian for lunch, and, your Creole for dinner, so I personally, I can't pick. If I was to pick a meal for me, or a dish that says Trinidad, and it does not say anywhere else, it wouldn't be a dish in itself. It would be foods. It would be doubles and kalaloo.
Right.
Not together, but doubles and kalaloo. No one make kalaloo the way we make kalaloo.
Yeah.
Whether it be with crab or whatever, but our kalaloo is something that is special for us.
Yeah.
And it's easy to identify the people of Trinidad with a callaloo because we're kind of like a callaloo ourselves, you know. And then there will be doubles, you know. That is our street food, fast food par excellence.
Yeah.
You know,
In me doing this show, I've just realized how popular roti and doubles is outside of Trinidad. People love it with a passion, but because of the preparation, you know, they don't really have access to it, so it tends to be a Trinidadian.
That's an excuse. I think that they don't have access to it because we don't believe that doubles is a serious high-class food that can be taken seriously.
Right.
Because we have street food and everybody have it and it's on the side of the road and stuff. We take it for granted. And we believe that high-end food and stuff is, you know, the tacos or the burrito, what we see across there and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And we are afraid that we can't compete. Even though our food is simple, fast, and vegan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that if we gave it a chance and allowed it to be seen out there, and for us to pick it up out there the way it should be, it would work wonders. You know what I mean? The world will take it over. Really and truly. You know what I mean?
Can I ask you if there are any vegan or vegetarian places in Martinique where you can go and get good food?
Well, I mean, there are places that are vegan, but then again, you know, the thing is that vegan means that you are not using certain ingredients. And most of the time, in most of
vegetarian at least.
Yeah, well, you could find something like that there, you know. I mean, you could find something that does not use dairy, you know. I mean, and you can make a meal out of it. So they don't need to have a place that is vegan. They do. You know, you have some people who spend a lot of time in France and stuff like that come and try and push stuff that work there here. But it doesn't really catch on really because, for one, our ladies and our guys are much fitter than they are. So that means that, you know what I mean, we eat much better than they do anyways. And secondly, in the diet that we have, you know, we have a consistent diet of not just rice or pasta, but also, you know, we have the potatoes, we have our roots, our root vegetables. You know, we use a lot more of our herbs and stuff like that, you know, which is a lot more readily available than elsewhere. So stuff like that is a lot more accessible for us than it is for them there, you know. So I don't think that we need anything special like Trinidad, you know. I mean, how many people really realize that doubles is a vegan dish? I'm sure a lot of people have even thought about it, you know, that doubles is a vegan dish. And it is. And it's always been vegan, you know. So we didn't have to make something special. You know, we had our punches and our juices long time. You know what I mean? So instead of using milk, you just put some more glucose, or, you know, you use an almond milk or something like that. But our punchman and peanut punch and fig punch and, you know.
Yeah.
And they have always
some of the punches over here are excellent, but some are way too sweet.
Well, again, you can't blame the food.
Yeah.
You have to blame the people now. The people ask for that because that's what they want, because they want it to resemble a milkshake. Then that's what you're gonna get. But I could go and tell my punch man how I want my punch made. I tell him don't put no sugar, especially no white sugar in my thing. You know what I mean? Let the fruit itself, let's get the fructose from the fruit itself. You know, you don't have to add extra milk. You know what I mean? I will just take some almond milk, or I try not to go for soy milk because soya means destroying the rainforest. Unfortunately, to plant soya beans and stuff like that. So, you know, I mean, we can find other supplements, but we have a lot of almond trees. You know, we need to start using that again. You know what I mean? Almond milk. We need to start, instead of using flour that comes from wheat, you know, but we start to make our own flour from bananas, from cassava, for, you know what I mean? I mean, manioc and stuff like that. It was there before. You know, we just have to start using it again.
Yeah. I just want to say one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life was actually a vegan burger from a place called Mildred's in London. And that must have been about 25 years ago. And I just had a check on the internet. they're still around. They've expanded. They've got branches all over London now. But
well, as you talk about London, one of the best places to have doubles, a macaroni pie, some pone, a currants roll, some roti.
You got my attention.
Is a Joupa's. You know what I mean? North Clapham, Clapham North.
South, yeah. I didn't really venture. I was more north.
No, man, these guys from Faizabad. These guys from Faizabad originally. But Dread, they know how to burn.
What's the name of the place again? Joupa's.
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 Joupa's. So it's Joupa, apostrophe S. Joupa's in Clapham North. And, you could find various types of Trinbago dishes. They're not just roti and doubles. So you can get your macaroni pie, you can get your stew chicken, you could even get your browning sauce for your stew chicken. You understand? Because a lot of people don't understand how we get the chicken well browned and seasoned. Right. You know what I mean? And it's people who not accustomed to burning sugar. You understand? So they might risk burning down the house or whatever, or smoke alarm going off and stuff like that. So you can get your sauce there and your green seasonings because it's all in the seasoning.
Right. Oh, so it's like a restaurant and a shop as well. You could buy ingredients from.
It is a restaurant, but sometimes they have, like little bottles of brown seasoning or green seasoning and stuff like that you could find and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But it is a restaurant.
And you dabble in cooking as well yourself, yes?
Well, yeah, I've had my my moments. You know what I mean? I used to in London work with a fantastic Austrian chef who had he used to manage a 5-star restaurant in Miami, and then he left all of that to do his own thing and start his own mobile food company called Speckmobile, France. And so I learned how to cook professionally with him, and I learned how to cook some Austrian dishes, strudel, schnitzel, knödel, which is their dumplings, and I had the opportunity to cook for the Austrian ambassador in the UK with France and the team and stuff, and so I love. I for me, it's meditative. It's kind of like cleaning. You know what I mean? When I have things on my mind that I need to work out, I work it out when I'm cooking, or I work it out when I'm cleaning. And and I love to cook for people, because I come from a large family that comes from a large family. So when we cook for everybody, plus the neighbors, plus whoever, you know what I mean? So we are custom cooking big. So I have a problem cooking just for myself. I find that really hard. If it's just for me, I can't be bothered. You know what I mean? I'll do a little fast food, which is like a pasta with shrimps in a cream sauce, perhaps with some chives or some coriander to finish it off. You know what I mean? With a zest of lime and so forth. And I get that done in half an hour. I eat fast food. You know what I mean? I my McDonald's kind of. But I prefer cooking for people. Then you could really, I don't want to say put on a show, but kind of, you could kind of, pick and choose.
It's like art, I suppose, if you can cook. I can't cook, so I don't know that experience, but it must be amazing to be able to cook for people.
Traveling also allows me to learn and experiment and see what other people eat, the seasonings that they use, how they do by using the same things that we have, make something completely different. I have a sister in Trinidad there, man. You know what I mean? You all might know her. Franka Phillips.
Oh.
Franka is a boss.
Okay.
When it comes to cooking, Franka is a boss.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's people like these that when they were cooking, I would sneak a peek in the kitchen and see how they're doing things. You know what I mean? And see how they hustle their hand, you know what I mean? So I might be able to try, the same thing at home and, so, just by peeping, what Franco was doing in the kitchen in London, when we had little vibes and things, you know what I mean? Helped me learn how to dose my spices or you know what I mean? And other people like that, and I love it. Nothing is better than putting on a spread for people or friends or people that you love and and everyone is around there and you all enjoy a good meal, a little drink here and there, and you all have that vibe. It's a liming vibe in Trinidad. You understand? So, no matter where I am, I'll still be Trini, you know what I mean? Because we had a lime. We have to lime, you know what I mean? And if they don't know how to lime, then we show them how to lime, you know what I mean? And then they have a new word that they could use or another definition of the word lime, that has nothing to do with the fruit. And so, yeah, you just kind of create that ambience, man, you know what I mean? And
Lovely.
what cooking does for me as a Trinidadian, it allows me also in countries that I am new in, it gives me the opportunity to say hello, so for my neighbors, I might throw a little bram, put on a little music, cook some things, you know what I mean, have some drinks there and invite the neighbors in, you know what I mean? Hi, my name is, nice to meet you, I'm new in the neighborhood. And it's hard for people to say no to free food.
Yeah,
true. You know what I mean? So it's free food, free vibes, and then the food is nice, you know what I mean? And then, you're just spreading the love, and sometimes that's all people need. You know what I mean? Because they've either lost, they are unaccustomed to living like that or to being like that. I mean, it's not their fault, and, you just kind of bring that love back into the vibes, and at least that's how I kind of organize things.
Lovely. As I said, it must be a fantastic experience. But what we're going to do now is chat about what you do, which is film producer.
Yes.
Yeah, tell the world a little bit about what you do, please.
Well, like my guy said, I'm a film producer, so I produce films for cinema, television. We produce films and stuff for Netflix, for Amazon Prime. We've done films that have been bought by Sony and stuff like that. We do a lot of international co-productions. So I was in the Dominican Republic because we were location scouting for a film that we are going to shoot with the Canadians from Quebec in April. And so, the financing and stuff came through for that. So that is going to happen. So, I'm going to be staying a bit longer in the Caribbean, for us to be able to do that.
That's not about the convoy, is it?
No.
Oh, right.
No. That's a piece. It's called Carnival. I can't really say too much about it right now because, we're not even into production as yet. But that's it. I am a film producer. I used to also run a film festival with a dear friend of mine, Mark Woods, outside of London, called the Caribbean Film Corner, that we did for 12 years. We kind of stopped with COVID. We would take that festival throughout the world and attach it to other major festivals, whether it be the Portobello Film Festival, Zabówka in Poland, or what have you. So we bring something that they are not accustomed to.
Definitely have heard of that before. Yeah.
And then we also have access to their audience that get to see what we produce in the Caribbean. And basically it was there to promote Caribbean cinema and film. Everything was free. But as a film producer, really and truly, I try to work. I work a lot in Europe. I also work a lot in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, and also North Africa, Le Maghreb. We sell a lot of films and stuff there. We've produced films by Arabic writers. So we did one film that we were in official festival at the Red Sea Festival in Saudi Arabia in December, was called Sharaf, and that was based on a book by Solana Ibrahim, who is an Egyptian writer. well known back in the 60s when he started writing. He was imprisoned a few times because of his writing. He's now in his 90s, and he changed the canon of Arabic literature from the 60s. So, his work is very strong, and he has a canon of work. Amazing to make that into a film. 100% Arabic for the Arabic market. So that was great there, So we sell films in various different markets. Not everyone could do a blockbuster, Not everyone is Universal or Paramount. And that is not what we are trying to do anyways. We're trying to give a voice to filmmakers from a certain region that don't necessarily have a voice, our region included. And that's it, It is a film business, so we try to make stuff that we can sell. But at the same time, we also want our films to not be devoid of message or subtext. So I was also in Guadeloupe for the FEMI, which is International Film Festival of Guadeloupe. And there we won Best Documentary for our film called Absolutley Moscow, which is a documentary that basically tells the plight of the Chagosian people. The Chagosian people are, or were, it is an archipelago of islands that was attached to Mauritius. But Mauritius was forced to annex the Chagos Islands in order to be granted independence by the UK. They had to annex it so that they could sell it to the Americans, because the Americans wanted it as a base in the Indian Ocean because of its geostrategic locality, which basically helped America become one of the most powerful countries in the world. They had access to the Middle East, to Asia, to Europe. There, it's almost equidistant. So Diego Garcia was made into a military base and black site for the Americans. And it's been 50 years that they've been trying or fighting to be recognized and to get their homeland back. They were also Creole people, ex-enslaved people. And so the Americans and the English thought that they could just displace them and no one would care, So it is a plight that has been, like I said, 2 generations, almost 50 years. David Vine did something on them. Chomsky, Amal Clooney was their lawyer when they took it to the British High Court and Le Hague in Holland, and they won that case. And it was judged that Mauritius decolonization had not finished. And the Americans were supposed to give them back their land, and their country. A few weeks ago, right before we won the award for Best Documentary, for the first time in about 49, 50 years, they were able to go back and put their foot on the soil of the Chagos Islands. We hope that would get better and they would be able to get their islands back. But they've been displaced for 2 generations, displaced, sent to the UK, some in Mauritius itself, some in other countries where they were treated like second-class citizens. It was tough, So we try to also do films, that underline the plight of people like ourselves,
Yeah. And what you're doing by doing that, you highlighting a situation that might actually cause an effect for something positive being done.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And it has. And, they've done most of the work. All we did was show basically what they did and try and get as many people to see it as possible, But they've done that, The idea behind it is that it could happen to anyone. It doesn't only have to be people who look like us, because look what's happening in the Ukraine right now. Populations are being displaced, through war. It's also a way for us to highlight the hypocrisy of the international community and sometimes ourselves. you know, because while everyone else was singing that same song of immigrants coming and too much immigrants, and, you know, if they were Syrians, they would stay home and fight and they wouldn't come. But now with the Ukraine, you know, people are talking differently. They're like, oh my God, we have to help these people. Oh, we have to open our doors. But they're immigrants as well.
Yeah.
They're going to be using the resources of the country as well. You know, now they're not saying, oh, they should stay and fight. You know, now they're like, oh, let's extend a hand. You know, so that kind of hypocrisy, you know, needs to be also highlighted. You know, the only difference between one and the other is skin color.
Yeah, there's a big backstory about what is actually going on in Ukraine. If you was to listen to certain media, you're only getting one side of what is actually happening.
Yeah, I mean, without even actually going into the whole politics of it, because I'm not Ukrainian, I'm not Russian, and I am not those Europeans who promised Ukraine that they would one day be able to join NATO and one day become European and thus have the protection of Europe, which they believed they had, and now they're in trouble and Europe is kind of hands off. Well, you know what? Thoughts and prayers. You know, and, you know, we're going to open our gates for those who want to run. You know, so again, highlighting that hypocrisy is all I need to do. I don't need to go into who's right or who's wrong. War is war. War is never good for anyone. You know what I mean? But we also have to stop being hypocritical.
True.
You know what I mean?
Big talk there. But let's keep it on film. If you was to give any advice to an aspiring young producer, what would you suggest?
Do it for the right reasons. Don't produce a film because you think that's how you're going to get famous and rich. And, you know what I mean? Richness is relative, you know? And I don't think that anyone can ever have enough. Do it for the right reasons. Do it because you have a story that you need to tell, that you need to get out there, that you want people to see. Or you have a director that you like and you're his number one fan. I mean, that's how it happened with me, you know what I mean? I mean, you saw a guy with potential with a story that was amazing and you're their number one fan and you don't understand why it is that people can't see that, you know, and you want to get people to see that, and automatically and naturally you defend his creativity, you defend his story, you defend his vision of seeing it, and you try and do everything that you can to make it happen, because that's what producing is, basically. You know what I mean? You know,
what took you to the path? Sorry, what took you to the path of being a film producer? Why a film producer and not a director or not an actor?
Okay, well, from young, I am what we call in Trinidad a TV pion. I love TV. I love films. Not just watching it, but also how did they make it happen? How did they get that to, you know what I mean? I'll always look a bit deeper into it. And I'm very visual, you know. I'm more visual than, you know, orative or anything else, you know. And I never thought that I could actually get into it. So I was studying here in Martinique at the university, and we had to do media as one of our courses, and I did that in radio. And so I had a radio program and stuff like that, but I was into my photography. And photography as well as storytelling, you know, I was studying literature and civilization and stuff like that. And so you just kind of started to do both. So I started to tell stories through the photography. At the same time, to organize trips throughout the Caribbean. So I would bring people to Trinidad for Carnival. You know, I mean, I would hire a plane of 50 to 150 seats and bring people down. We go to Jamaica for Sunsplash or Sting. We go to St. Lucia for the Jazz Festival. We go to Dominica for the Creole Festival. And so we used to kind of move like that, you know. And at the same time, you know, after doing that, I started to lecture at the university. in Caribbean civilization and literature. And so I used it as a tool. So when I organize my trips, I film what we do and what people do and what happens in the country. And so it's like a mini documentary, on the island, or what you can do during the weekend. And I'll always have people with me, and we'll go on visiting of interest and stuff like that. So I would use that in my classes to teach. And then one day, a lady called Marie-Claude Celeste, who had a program based on the Caribbean, noticed what we were doing and stuff like that, and she did a little documentary on us and stuff, which surprised the hell out of me because, I had no idea. And then it was that kind of gave me the click that the stuff that we had, the stuff that we were actually filming, that I would use for my class was actually something that I could actually use and make into a documentary, and tell a story. And so I did, and I was able to get it on a couple of television stations here in Martinique and in Guadeloupe. And people really liked it, and people actually thought that I had been to film school, and I hadn't, and then they were like, well, you should, try it out, and I sent in some of the stuff that we did. I got accepted to a film school in Paris called l'Institut International de l'Image et du Son, 3IS, which is the International Institute of Image and Sound in Paris. And that's how I started my career in film. That's how I went to film school. Of course, like you said in the beginning, everyone wants to be a director or an actor and stuff like that because, that's what we see. That's the most visible side. Right. But once I got there, and I was looking through the courses, the production and production management course is something that went better for me, because it's about logistics, it's about organizing things, organizing people and stuff. And it's what I was doing already with the trips, and all of that kind of stuff, and just being that number one fan. So I decided, well, a director can't direct if there's no producer to produce. And so I did the production management and stuff like that. And that's how I became a producer. After that, I kind of talked my way into a production company in Paris that did television series. So one was called Joséphine Ange Gardien, which was quite known. It was kind of like Stairway to Heaven with Michael Landon back in the 80s, that series, where he's this angel, that comes and he helps solve people's problems, like that. Same format and stuff. And they kind of like me in the office, because, I was a limer and they bring a little vibes, and, you know what I mean? But they didn't want me to go any further. And I wanted to be on the set. I wanted to be a production manager, and stuff like that. And they wanted to keep me in the office. And then, they kind of said, well, look, you can either stay here and work with us, or you can never really work in the industry in France again, because, we'll blacklist you and all that kind of nonsense. And so I decided to leave for London. And there's where I ended up at the London Film School, producing for the talent there for their grad films and so forth, because they didn't do any production courses there. So there was a lack of producers. So once they find a producer that was good, then word of mouth would spread. Hey, a producer that can help you produce your film. And then I started to do my show reel and get that organized in London. And I remained independent until 2017. And that's when I left the UK after Brexit for Luxembourg, because there were opportunities there to produce better, bigger budgets. I was able to kind of join forces with another friend of mine who I met at the London Film School, because he was producing and I was production managing, Adolphe Elassal, who is from Luxembourg, Egyptian origin. And we became really good friends. And even though after he left to go to the States and Germany and so forth, and I stayed in the UK, we kept in contact, and we would always kind of help each other out on our projects and stuff like that. And that's how I ended up in Luxembourg, and when we created that company there. But London did quite a lot to help for me, because as an independent, I didn't even think of going to the Screen UK for funding. With whatever we have, we would just pool our resources and make a film. And our goal was to make a film a year so that we could keep that up. Of course, it's not easy piercing. And so, we had to do other jobs, like teaching, working in pubs, and everything else, to be able to make films. But it's the stick-to-it-ness, stick-to-itness, that is very important. You have to stick to it.
Right.
And a few of us did, and created opportunities for ourselves. I also had the opportunity to work for Secret Cinema and do stuff with them, including a film program for underprivileged youth in the areas that Secret Cinema did their events, so that they would have a kind of crash course in what it takes to be a filmmaker, but with professionals. Like Jonah Hill's sister, BB, with Ken Loach's producer, with Stormy Bugsy's director, and stuff like that, with the set from Secret Cinema, which was elaborate and amazing. And they work with professionals to help them write, film, edit, and after even market and distribute their pieces, creating posters and stuff like that. And we chaperone them throughout the entire process. So stuff like that has enabled me to do more, start giving back, understanding that there's a lot more to it than just making blockbuster films, because you need to make sure that you have a catalogue of work, body of work that can stand up on its own, that we learned from men like Horace Ovey, who helped us a lot when we were doing our film festival. They gave us a lot of advice. We learned also from their mistakes. They told us, learn from the mistakes, so that we don't make the same things again. Men like Rudolph Walker and stuff like that. These are some people who, Trinidadians might not know much of. Darkus Howe, the late great Darkus Howe, for example, is one of them. The list continues. There's a whole host of people there and elsewhere, that enable us to understand that we need to think not just for today, but also for tomorrow. And if people don't know your work today, you can't expect them to know you tomorrow. And those are the ones that are going to really kind of keep you relevant, so to speak, in 20, 30 years' time, for example. Slowly but surely, we're just trying to produce quality programming everywhere, from Zimbabwe to South Korea, passing via Australia. I've had films released there. We were able to be the first company in Luxembourg to sell a film to a network, whether it be Netflix or Amazon Prime. Our company was the first. So these things are important. These things help us go forward, and we kind of set ourselves goals with the short term, long term, and so forth, and we try to stick to them.
So I want to ask you, the difference between a producer and an executive producer. In my opinion, a producer does all the work and gets the job or the project done, and the executive producer provides the money. I have no idea, so please enlighten me.
No, I get you. I am not one for labels, really. I'm one for getting the job done. But a producer is not the only one who gets the film done. You know, a film is a collaborative job with a multitude of different people with various skill sets. What a producer does is bring these people together. They bring these people together that would help chaperone, that would help push, that would help trying to find the word in English is encadrer in French, but to be around your director to make
you're organizing everything. Okay. Yeah.
Well, me and my team,
right?
You know,
right.
But everyone has their role to play,
right?
You know, so a producer, in my regard, is someone who does everything that needs to be done to make sure that an idea becomes a film that then you can then sell.
Right.
And put on screen. An executive producer can be someone who just brings money, or he could also be someone who manages the production. You know, as well. It depends. It depends on where the money is coming from. It depends on if it's state funds or private funds. It depends on which country you're working in, because different titles have different rules in different countries, you know, based on the system that they use, you know. But a producer, whether he be executive, delegate, associate, he's there to help take the production forward, whether it be in pre-production, budgeting, in production, making sure that you stay in budget and on time, whether it be taking care of post-production, for example, whether it be finding the right distributor or sales agent so that after you can sell the film on. That's kind of like the job of a producer. You know, I would say he's one of the first people attached to a project and one of the last people to leave the project.
Right.
So he's one of the first people to be employed, but one of the last people to be paid.
When I researched you on IMDb, it had a list of the first film. It was one that I don't think you mentioned in this show. It is My Grandpa is an Alien.
Yeah, My Grandpa is an Alien. Yeah, yeah. That was that is kind of like the 21st century ET film, where the main protagonist is a young lady, not a young boy. That we produced with Croatia. So that was done also with Bosnia, with Norway, with Finland. It was 7 producing countries and actors that came from those different countries.
Okay. Well, have you got any sponsors or any companies or any people you work with that you want to shout out and say, yo?
Well, sponsors, we don't really deal with sponsors too much. Because we find sources of our funding either by financing it ourselves, or there are major state funding bodies and stuff in Europe and elsewhere, right, where you, I mean, it's not automatic, it's selective. So you have to have a dossier ready. You need to be able to pitch your project and get people to see the viability of it. We find co-producers, not sponsors, that would work with us to finance a film and get it made and done. But, you know, I mean, to tell the truth, really, truly, who I need to kind of big up are the people who are behind me. You know, I need to big up the Ramdeen family, for example. You know, I mean, without my brother Gary and his family, you know, I have a home away from home, you know, here in Martinique. You know, I mean, these are people who are like family to me, you know. The Grand Genoise, also with Kiki, Christian Grand Genoise, who are always there for me if I need stuff. You know, I have to big up my extended family in Trinidad, you know, that always, they might not understand exactly what I do for a living, you know what I mean? But they're always there. you know, and they're always proud that I'm out there representing on the family's behalf, you know. My boys, Mark Woods, JP Potillon, and the entire Abia crew, Just Vibes crew, you know what I mean, Mr. Champoon, you know, Sia, you know, these are the guys who held me up in London, you know, and again, even though they didn't totally understand what I was doing, they were always there, you know what I mean? I have to big up my boy, Samuel Niralak, Guadeloupe, you know, who was also one of my running guys in London, you know, Tony Upo, you know, from Nigeria, who's based in Rennes in France, you know. I started doing my first set of feature films with him, you know what I mean, producing him, you know, and, you know, all those people who had confidence and had faith in me, when sometimes I didn't even have faith in myself, sometimes, they know they know themselves, you know what I mean? So I don't have to call a whole set of names. A lot of people don't like that whole kind of make out scene, but they know who they are, man, you know, and you know, they know that the love is there, and that you know, the respect for what they've done and what they continue to do for me is there as well, you know. Big shout out to my girl Jasmine Stein, Berlin Massive. You don't know, you know, so it go.
Blessings. So while you're here, I also want to ask you, like, for me, I think one of the cheapest ways to get into filmmaking is screen or script writing. But then I noticed that in, like, Trinidad, the TNT Film Festival, you can only submit films. You cannot submit a script.
Well, that is for the film festival, but they also have the film market, which is outside, you know. So for the film market, that is a place that you'll be able to go and pitch your scenarios to producers or production companies that are looking for scenarios, perhaps, and there you could start something. But the festival is a main film festival, and also it has become one of the major film rendezvous in the Caribbean, the Trinidad Tobago Film Festival. I mean, it's spoken about throughout the region and even internationally now. NECA has done an amazing job at bringing it back and getting it to the forefront. Again, I think we need to, at some point in time, decide where we want to go and what system we want to use. Because of our proximity to the United States, they see that. But they need to understand that an American system is totally different. Everything is private venture, private capital. You know, that system is also monopolized by a few major companies.
Yeah.
And if they don't see you, you don't exist. You know, they don't really have an ACH or a kind of an art house industry, you know, that it doesn't thrive well in the United States. In the UK, perhaps it does. Plus, there's the state that also have various initiatives to enable filmmakers to make films, as well as the European system, especially the French system. So we need to look into these things seriously, and then we need to ask ourselves, what system do we want for ourselves? How are we going to finance films? You cannot finance a film by sponsors. That's not a viable form of financing for a film. This is a business. So if people are investing money, they need to be able to have a return on that investment. Right. You know, so we need to kind of take a lot of things into consideration. How are we going to enable an investor to have a return on his investment? Where are we going to sell those films to? How are we going to guarantee that that money comes in that will enable them to continue wanting to invest in cinema? What's the incentives that the state are going to put in place? How much of the risk are they willing to take in order to create an industry? And this is an industry that does not use any natural resources. It actually kind of helps preserve natural resources and stuff like that, and uses our local talent to the max. I mean, so, I mean, it makes sense.
So this film market, that's in Trinidad?
Well, yeah, during the film festival, during the Trinidad.
During the film festival, okay. So I'll be able to find their information on the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival website. I just looked for the film market there.
Yeah, you should.
Thank you
should.
so
I mean, I haven't been on there for a bit. I don't really work for them. But normally, yeah, there was always a film market attached to the festival. So there's a place where the people who make films, write scripts, act in films and stuff can meet, and possibly share ideas, share what they have, so that the following year they're guaranteed to have films to show at the festival. I mean.
Cool. Excellent. I'll look into that. Before I let you go, I just want to ask you, I didn't ask you this. Give us 2 beaches you recommend in Martinique.
2 what?
Beaches.
2 beaches. Wow. 2 beaches that I recommend in Martinique. North Caribe, Black Sand, because we're right next to Montpellier. Beautiful beaches. There, for example, that is the Caribbean coast. A second beach that I would have to big up would be Saint-Anne in the south of the island. It's always been traditionally kind of wild, and you could find little beaches that, people have no access to, at least not easily, so you could be like Robinson Crusoe, in your own little piece of wilderness and stuff there. So you could find that in the south in Saint-Anne. But I'll have to throw a third to the Atlantic side of the island. If you like bodyboarding, surfing, you like to do those kind of sports, Diamant. Le Diamant is amazing. White sand beaches, waves big and nice enough for you to take your surfboard out there and have a good time.
Okay. Wow.
It's a small island, but the island is very versatile, and there's a lot that you could do here. You're never too far from the sea and the mountain. Like I showed you all just now, Montpellier was right there, and right next to it is the beach. So that accessibility to shoreline, coast, mountain, town, city, is quite amazing. It's quite amazing,
Najib, I want to really thank you so much for spending this quality time with us. It was fantastic. I personally got so much information out of you there, and not just about what you do, but about the food as well, the food in the Caribbean. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much. Keep on doing what you're doing. And, keep on doing these portraits of various West Indians, both home and abroad. It's important that we get to see ourselves and that people know that we're there and we're out there. So, as they say in the French West Indies, Kembered, Pamoli, Jaconet, c'est nous-mêmes, quoi. Thank you very much.
Blessings. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, buddy. Take care. People, keep watching. KVTV, yo. You don't know. All right.